Hello again, everybody. It's Captain Firefox, and we are in a new series. This is going to be my new EVE 101 series, where I basically teach the most basic things about EVE that the game doesn't do a real good job of explaining to new bros. Now, new bros is basically slang for new players to the game. And with the new alpha clones, where it's basically free to play, there's a lot of guys coming into the game who really don't have a clue what the hell's going on. So I'm going to do a series of videos about very, very basic things. If you've played EVE before, this series is not for you. This is going to be like how to fit a ship, how to jump to a gate, basic FC commands, things like that. Those are going to be the types of videos I'm doing. Today we're talking about basic fitting of a ship. This is a Talos. It's a battle cruiser. We're not going to be fitting that. We're going to go to something a little more basic today. Let me check out my inventory here, and I will assemble a thorax and make it active. Alright, let's close this down for now. Now, to fit a ship, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. The easiest way is to ask a court member or somebody like that for a saved blueprint, for a saved fitting for a ship. So let's say I got a bunch of cruisers in here. I could come down here to a thorax, which I got a bunch of, pick one, and now you hit this button down here, you hit fit, and it'll fit the ship for you. Everything that's listed here will go on your ship. That's the easy way to do it. But that doesn't help explain anything, so I'm not going to hit that button right now. So to manually fit a ship, come over here to the left side of your screen where all your menu items are, hit the fitting icon, and it'll pull up this right here. This is your fitting screen. Okay, this is how you add modules to your ship. And let me go over the 4 different areas of your ship here. Alright, you have your high slots, which are up here. They're the things that looks like the 3 little triangle points, I guess. Those are your high slots. This is where things like your guns, your newts, your nosses, tractor beams, salvagers, smart bombs, things of that nature go up in the high slots. There's a whole different, there's a gazillion things that can go in here. Okay, those are your high slots. I'll be referring to that. Above the high slots, you'll see these 5 circles right here. And then next to this little thing right here, it's called a turret hardpoint. This is how many turrets you can fit into the high slots. The Thorax is one of the few ships where you can fit all of the high slots with turrets. Usually they'll have an extra 1 or 2 left over to fit something like a newt or a nos or something like that. A newt is something that sucks the capacitor out of another player's ship. So, alternatively, on this side over here, this is the launcher hardpoints. As you can see, the Thorax doesn't have any because the Galente generally don't shoot missiles. So that's why you see 0 circles over here. If this was a Drake, for example, you'd have 7 circles on this side because it can fit a bunch of launchers on the top. Moving on from there, the 2 horizontal lines right here, these are your mid slots. In my personal opinion, if you got fewer than 4 mid slots, you should never fly the ship in PvP. You just shouldn't. You need all 4 of those slots, at least. And I'll get to those fittings in a minute. Your mid slots are usually full of your propulsion, your afterburners, your micro warp drives, which makes your ship go faster. Your point, which is either a scrambler, a warp scrambler, or a warp disruptor. A warp scrambler will shut down another player's micro warp drive and keep them from warping away, but it's short range. A warp disruptor will shut down the player's ability to jump away, but they can still use their micro warp drive, and it's got a much longer range, a little over double the range. And you can also put things in the mids if you're a shield tanked ship, which means your ship is your shields are your primary defensive measure for your ship. This is where your shields would be in the mid slots. You can also put modules in there that'll help your capacitor out, like a Capt booster, which uses charges, kind of like ammo, to increase your capacitor. And your capacitor, if you look up here, this is what it looks like when you undocked. In the middle, default in the middle and the bottom of your screen, you'll have a big circle. The outer circle will be shields, the middle will be armor, the innermost circle will be your whole hit points. And in the middle of that is this little circle thingy here. That's your capacitor. And that's basically how much energy your ship has to use. That's what a capacitor is. There's a bunch of other electronic warfare things that'll go in your mid slots as well, but I'm not going to get into all of those for two reasons. One, this ship doesn't really use them, and it's very, very complex. Eve, there's so much that goes into Eve. It's mind-boggling how much information there is in this game. It's like a college course. It really is. Moving on, we've got the low slots. This is the one vertical line. Your low slots are generally for your armor tank. That's the big thing that goes down there. There's also things like speed, propulsion. You can extend your cargo bay down in the lows. You can put your weapon damage increasing mods down here, your mining increasing modules. All those kind of things go in the low slots. And I'm being very general here. Let's open the market real quick. And the ship equipment, like everything under this electronic warfare, all this stuff, for the most part, goes in the mid slots. There's no way I could spend, I can't go into everything in a little 101 video. So, just to let you know, there is a ton of things that can go in all these slots. I'm being very general about it. We'll get more into the market in a different video. And then over here is your rigs. Now, rigs are different than any other module. These other modules, your highs, your mids, and your lows, anything you put in there, you can take right back out. No problem. It's good as new. No damage is done to it. A rig, once you put the rig in here, it stays. You can't get rid of it. If you take it out, you destroy it. You lose it. So whatever money you spent to buy the rig is gone. You can't get it back. It's just gone. So when you're just starting out in the game, I wouldn't even worry about a rig. Unless it's a fitting rig to give you more CPU or power grid, I wouldn't worry about spending the money on there because you're going to die. You're just going to. So we'll get into rigs when I start fitting it. These will increase the ability of whatever you want it to. You can increase the effectiveness of your highs, your mids, your lows, your speed, you name it, you can increase it with a rig. You can make it better, but it costs a lot of money. Usually you'll spend as much money on your rigs as you do the whole of your ship, in general. Maybe, sometimes. It depends. You'll hear me say it depends a gazillion times in these tutorials, okay? Because that's the general answer in EVE is it depends. There's no right answer in EVE Online. There's just not. There's plenty of wrong answers, but there's never a right answer. Okay, moving on. Let's go ahead and open up my inventory. Open up your inventory tab over here. Drop down to my item hanger. I've already got the thorax pieces put together. I like to produce everything in bulk and put it in a cargo container, and it's just so much easier to fit anything. So let's go over some basic principles for fitting a ship. Now, the ship that I'm going to fit today is going to be an active tanked thorax, an active armor tanked thorax. And I'll go over the difference between an active and a buffer tank when I'm done fitting the ship. But for now, let's focus on fitting this thing. I've got 5 turret hardpoints in the top. Okay, so I'm going to fit my turrets in the top real quick. Pretty simple, right? Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can drag, you can drop, which is pretty simple. Or you can right-click on it and hit Fit to Active Ship. And it'll put it where it's supposed to go. And voila, I've got my ship fitted with guns. Now, I've seen a lot of new bros having trouble with fitting turrets. So I'm going to spend a little time explaining turrets. Now, these are Tech 2 ones. You're not going to be able to fly these as an alpha or for the first few months you play the game just because it's very skill intensive to get here. But something important for your high slots. They should all be the same gun. Generally. Sometimes in a battleship you have to have, 4 big guns and 4 little guns just for fitting. My Hyperion's like that. Let me explain to you what I mean by the big and little guns. It's not the official term, of course, because I don't do official. But let me explain it to you real quick. Each class of ship has a size of gun. For frigates and destroyers, you use small turrets. So let's see, we're flying a Glente ship. So you'll see you get small, medium, large, and extra large. Frigates and destroyers are small. Cruisers and battle cruisers use medium. Battleships use large. Capital ships use your extra large. So you can fit a small gun on a medium ship. So you can fit a frigate-sized gun on a cruiser or a battle cruiser. You're a dumbass if you do, but you can. And likewise, some ships have enough power grid for you to be able to fit a medium gun on a small ship, but that's usually going to be all you can fit, and again, you're a dumbass. You always want to fit the modules that are designed for the ship. And while I'm mentioning that, if you open the information screen for your ship, every ship in this game has a specialty. For the thorax, that gives bonuses to the medium hybrid turret, damage, and tracking speed. So of course I'm going to fit hybrid turrets to this ship. I would never fit missiles because I can't, there's no hard points. I would never fit autocannons or lasers onto this ship because it's not bonused for that ship, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Okay, back to the different sizes. So within the small, medium, large, there are a bunch of different guns. And you'll notice they all have certain things in common. Let me expand this a little bit so you can see the whole thing. So you'll see electron, ion, and neutron. Those are the sizes of the gun. What I mean when I say size, each one's going to have a different amount of CPU and power grid that's needed. And I'll get into what CPU and power grid is here in just a minute. In addition to the different fitting requirements, you're going to have different tracking and damage outputs by each one. And if you just open up your information, it'll go into all that here, which again, I'm not going to get into all that in this kind of video. But I believe the electrons are the bigger ones, ions in the middle, and neutrons are the smallest. Don't quote me on that, I've been out of the game for a while, but I am 90% sure that's correct. So the big guns are going to do the most damage, but they're going to have the slowest tracking, which means it's going to be harder to hit small, fast-moving ships. And the neutrons are going to put out the least amount of damage, but they're going to be able to hit the smaller, faster ships more often than the big guns. So that's what I mean when I say there's a big and small gun for every size of gun. I hope that makes sense. But regardless of which size you fit, generally, you'll want to have the same blaster or whatever ship type you're using, the same type of gun for every slot on there. You would never, ever fit an electron blaster and a railgun. Like, you would never do that. You would never fit a blaster and a railgun on there. You just wouldn't do it. You'd never fit a pulse laser and a beam laser. You would never mix them like that. You always want the same type of gun on there. Alright, I think I've beat that dead horse. Let's move on. So we've got our blasters on there. These are our damage dealers. Now, this is something I've seen happen frequently in the new corp as well. This goes for every weapon except for blasters, which is the lasers. Lasers, you only need one piece of ammo for it, and it'll shoot as long as until the crystal's broken. Any other weapon system requires ammo. Each piece of ammo fires one gun one time. So you can't just get 5 pieces of ammo and expect these things to shoot infinitely. That's not how it works. Each shot is a round of ammunition. And when you group your guns, each time you fire the gun, you're using up 5 pieces of ammo in this case. So make sure you get a couple thousand pieces of ammo. Otherwise, you're going to be going back to the station every time you hit the button to shoot. We don't want to do that. Okay, moving on to the mid slots. This is a PvP build, which means I'm going to go out and try to kill another player with this ship. So, I've got to be able to keep him from being able to warp away. To do that, I'm going to fit a warp scrambler in the mid slot. Okay, that allows me to pin him down and not let him get away from the system by warping out. He could still be faster than me, but he can't warp away from me. Very important to have on your ship. Now, he could very easily get away from me if he's a faster ship than me. So there's 2 different things I can do to make sure he doesn't get away from me once I scram him and keep him from warping away. The first thing is to make myself faster. To do that, I have an afterburner. The afterburner makes me faster. Yeah, I could also fit in here a micro warp drive, which would make me go a lot faster. But it's harder to fit because it uses more power grid, and it makes my signature radius blow up. Now, signature radius is basically how easy it is for the other player to target you. So you want to try to keep your sig radius as low as possible, generally. And let's go ahead and talk about the CPU and power grid. Down here, you'll see the CPU and power grid. Each module that you fit to this ship is going to take up some CPU and power grid. This basically is in place to keep you from fitting large turrets onto small ships. So there's fitting requirements. You cannot go over the power grid and CPU limit, which is visualized here by the blue and red marker things. So if I drop this on there, you'll see the lines go up, and you can't go beyond the limit on the ship without fitting some kind of rig or something like that to make it better. Okay, that's a quick rundown of CPU and power grid. Now, back to the ship fitting. So we've been able to keep the ship from flying away by putting the warp scrambler on it. We've got an afterburner to make myself faster so he can't outrun me, because I've already shut down his micro warp drive by putting the scrambler on there. So he's not going to be able to be faster than me if I have the afterburner. Generally. There are ships that are just stupid fast. They can't do anything about it. But I want to make him even slower, because the slower they move, the easier it is for me to hit them. So I'm going to put a stasis web of fire on this ship. Again, it goes in the middle. Now this stasis web of fire basically, well, you can see right there, it reduces the target ship's velocity by 60%. So as soon as I turn this on, he's going slower than half his normal speed. It's a great thing. If you have a friend with you, and he also has a web on him, then he's then doing 60% less of 60%. It's not, I'm not going to make him go 120% shorter. It stacks. So there's a stacking penalty. So okay, I got him. I can't warp away. I'm going to be faster than him, and I'm going to make sure I'm faster than him because I put a web on there, so he's going super slow. But this is an active tank ship. Active tanks means I'm going to actively repair the damage that I'm taking in the low slots. That takes a lot of capacitor. I know this because I'm experienced in the game. So I'm going to put something called a capacitor booster in here. Now what this does is takes these Capt booster charges, I put it in there, and every time I click that in space, it'll dump capacitor charge into my capacitor. It is vital to have one of these on your ship if you're going to use an active tank, because the reppers burn through capacitor like you wouldn't believe. And all the other ship has to do is put a newt on his ship and he's going to win the battle, because you can't do jack, including shoot, point, or go fast without your capacitor. So you got to make sure you have a Capt booster on there and put as many Capt booster charges as you can in the inventory. So we've got the top is finished, the mids are finished, so now we got to make sure we survive the engagement down to the lows. Now there's two trains of thought for your low slots. You can go for gank or you can go for tank. A gank means you're going to up your DPS as high as you can. You're going to turn yourself into a glass cannon and you're going to kill it as fast as you can. You're betting that you can kill him before he kills you. Not my playstyle, but you can do it. That's what you want to do. That's what you can do. You can put mag stabs, ballistical control, whatever it is that fits with your gun type in the lows down here, and it'll increase the damage you do every time you shoot them. That's not my playstyle. I am a tank first guy. So knowing that, I'm going to put a damage control module on the bottom here. And what this is going to do, let me show you right here. Okay. I just opened up the defense tab here, and these are the resistances. Resistances are key. Alright, I'm armor tanking my ship, so the armor resistances is what I want to try to increase the most. So I'm going to put this damage control on here, and you're going to see the resistances jump up. That's what you want to see when you put a module on there. You want to see the numbers go up. Every time. Generally. It depends. So I've done that. I've put that damage control on there, which is passive now, which is nice. It doesn't take up any of your capacitor, so that's good. It's always on. Now on top of that, I'm going to put an EA&M. This is just another module that's going to increase my resistances. And this increases resistances across the boards. There's different ones you can get to increase your EM, your thermal, your kinetic, and your explosive independently, and they'll increase it tremendously. I prefer to go for an Omni tank because I don't know what the other guy's going to be shooting me with. So I'm going to drop another one down there because resistances are good. So there I go. I've got a bunch of resistances. I was in like the 20s when I started on a couple of these, and then my lowest is 56%. That's a good thing, okay? but I'm still going to take damage. Every time they shoot me, at best, I'm only stopping 76% of their damage. So I'm going to need to be able to repair the incoming damage at some point with this build. So I'm going to put an armor repper down in the bottom here. This armor repper is a normal armor repper, just a medium armor repairer 2, okay? And every 9 seconds it cycles through and I get another 368 hit points at this point, okay? Unless they're doing very, very shit DPS to you, you're not going to be able to survive with just the one repper. So I put another repper on there. I like to put the ancillary repper on here because it uses nanite repair paste instead of capacitor. So this will give you a bigger boost, but it's a really, really long reload. Once you go through those 32 charges, I believe it's like 60 or 90 seconds before it reloads. So you're without a repper for a while there, which sucks. Now, pro tip here, I put these together whenever I built this just because it kind of went with the flow. If I was building this ship to actually go out and fight, I would not put these two active modules next to each other, because when you overheat them in a battle, it actually matters that they're right next to you. So if I were to place these further apart, hold on. There. If I were to fit these further apart, they're going to do less damage to each other when I'm overheating them. They get so hot they actually do physical damage to the modules next to them. So if I have two active modules right next to each other and I'm overheating them, they're going to take more damage. So spread them out as much as you can. You're kind of screwed on the guns. You can't really spread those out on this fit. So they're going to damage each other when they're overheating. And kind of the same thing, these are all active over here, so they're all going to damage themselves as well. But if you know you're going to be overheating something, like for me, my Cap charger, I overheat it. The Cap booster, I overheat all the time in a battle. I usually don't overheat my web because it doesn't really do much for me. I will occasionally overheat this because it extends the range if the guy's trying to get away from me. So that's why I keep these spread apart like this. Okay, so my ship is basically fit at this point. It is ready to go out and fight. It would do a decent job. Every 9 seconds I would be repairing 368 plus 621. So roughly 1,000 hit points repaired every 9 seconds. Which is really nice because, as you can see, I only have 2,000 hit points of armor. So I'm basically repairing half of my armor every 9 seconds. Which is important because this is a mistake I see people make a lot. They will mix the two types of tank, which is passive and active. Let me pull up a ship that I have that is... Here we go. Alright, this is passive tanked. You remember I had 2,000 hit points in the armor on the last ship. This one has 8,000 hit points because of this rolled tungsten plate. I am basically counting on the fact that I'm going to be able to kill that other ship before it kills me with this setup. Okay? So I'm going to, I have 4 times as many hit points, but I cannot repair them by myself. Which, we'll get into fleet tactics later, but I can have other ships repair my damage for me. This will make me last longer. I'll last longer if I get shot by multiple different targets and all those kind of things. So there is a place in PvP for your buffer tanks. I like to do more solo kills and stuff like that, so I prefer active tank. But what you never want to do is have a plate on here and an armor repper right next to it, because your armor repper is only going to repair 1,000 hit points. On that last fit would only do 1,000 hit points. So instead of repairing half of my armor every cycle, I'm repairing 1/8 of my armor every cycle. You see why it's not very smart to do that. Now there's people that'll tell you it's the greatest thing in the world to do both. I don't believe in that at all. So that's why I don't do it. Alright, back to the ship we were fitting. Okay, so we got the 2,000 hit points again. We've got the 2 active reppers on here. We're ready to go out and fight with 1,000 hit points repaired every 9 seconds. But we can make it better by those rigs. Remember the rigs I was talking about earlier that make everything better? So this one's doing 368 hit points. This one's doing 621 hit points. Let's see what happens whenever we put a nano pump on here. Yeah. See, the only way to remove this rig is by destroying it. Okay, thank you. Now I'm repairing 423 hit points and 714. So I've basically upped it by roughly 150 hit points every time. I'm sure y'all going to crucify me on my math right there. I haven't slept much and I'm sure it's wrong. But let's add another one on there and see what we can do here. 478 and 807. So now I'm doing a little over, hell, I'm almost doing 1,300 hit points right now instead of 1,000. So, hey, I'll take the extra 300 hit points every 9 seconds, any day and every day. But I can do better. There's another rig called a nanobite accelerator that'll increase the cycle time of my reppers. So now I'm getting the same 478 hit points, but I'm getting it every 7.7 seconds instead of every 9 seconds. And trust me, that almost 2 seconds will seem like an eternity in PvP. So that's the benefit of the rigs. And you can see over here you have your calibration, which is basically your CPU and power grid for rigs. The rigs generally don't take up any CPU or power grid, but they all take up calibration. Some of the rigs will affect the power grid, and I'm not going to get into why, but they will. So that's it. My ship is fit. Almost. There's always an almost. So I need ammo, of course. So we'll just grab some ammo. Let's throw 1,000 in here. I usually won't spend more than 1,000 rounds of ammo without dying. There's a reason I have 20 of these things sitting in my hangar. I lose quite a few. And you're going to lose every ship you undock. Just if you can't afford to lose it, don't undock it. Simple as that. So make sure you have, open this up. Make sure you got your things in there, and then throw as many cap charges as you can into your cargo, because you're going to need every last one of those. I can't tell you how many times I've been in PvP that it all comes down to who has the most capacitor boosters in their cargo. The navies you can fit more because they're lighter. They take up less space. So those are more expensive. And we also have a drone bay. Always going to need your drones. I don't know why I have hammerheads in here. I would not suggest using hammerheads in PvP. They're slower. I would always use a Warrior or a Valkyrie, which is the Minmatar drones. They're faster. Your Galente drones, which is what the hammerhead and hobgoblins are, those are better for PvE. I probably just produced a bunch of these and threw them in there. So, but throw them in there. I like to have a very different drone combination in my hangar whenever I undock, but for demonstration purposes right now, it's full. So this is now locked, loaded, and ready to go. I've got 5 of the same turrets in the top, which is important. Very important on top. I've got my mid slots filled out. I'm ready to stop somebody from getting away. I'm ready to catch them. I'm ready to slow them down anymore, and I'm ready to boost my capacitor. And I'm ready to repair any damage, minimize the damage coming in, and repair even more damage. So that's it. That is the basics of how you fit a ship. There are like a zillion different fits for every ship in the game. There's never a right answer. I like this style because there's also things you can do to increase what you're doing, damage or repair even more, by taking drugs, by being boosted in a fleet. There's a million different things in this game that you'll learn the more you're in it. But this ship will get you going. And this same principle works on different ships. This isn't just a thorax that's good like this. The same basic things I just told you will work for an Ishkar, which is the frigate, which you can get into almost immediately. As you can see, I've got this 3 of the same turrets at the top. I've got my Capt booster, my afterburner, and my warp scrambler. Now, most frigates aren't going to have 4 mid slots. They just aren't. They're frigates, they're smaller, they can do less than the bigger ships. I lost the web. I hate not having a web on this ship because the faster ships are damn near impossible to hit. But you just have to live with it. And I have basically the same fit up down here. I have 2 regular reppers instead of an ancillary because nanopaste is expensive for frigates. And I can only fit 1 EA&M in here instead of 2 because, again, it's a frigate. It does less. The rigs are the same, almost. I do have an explosive pump on here, which again increases the resistance of my explosive damage. So you can see they kind of scale up too. You saw that thorax. Here is the Hyperion. We'll let this one come out. It's purty. It's super purty. But it's fit in much the same way. I don't know why that's off. Let's see if it turns on. There we go. Okay. So you see, it's a big... This is a battleship. This is the biggest beast of the Galente Army, or Navy, excuse me, that you can fly in high sec. It's not a dreadnought or a Titan, but other than that, this is the biggest, baddest baby on the block. It's fit much the same way as the thorax. Now this is what I'm talking about. I have 3 electron blasters on here and 3 ion blasters on here because I ran out of power grid and CPU. So I had to make them the smaller of the large turrets. But it's the same basic setup. I've got my Capt boosters, my warp scrambler, my micro warp drive, my web, and another Capt booster because I have 3 armor reppers down here at the bottom. So you can see they're spread out as much as possible. Again, damage control, EANM, EANM. I have an extra spot, so I throw on a mag stab, which increases the damage of my turrets. So you see, the same basic principles work for all different size of ships. Now the Hyperion, I believe, yes, it gets a bonus to the armor repair amount. So very rarely would you want to fit this as a passive tank because it gets the bonus to the armor rippers. You're always going to want to build your ship to meet the bonuses of the ship. The only reason I would ever fit this with a plate or 2 or 3 is because I'm in a fleet with a bunch of Logi, which is other players repairing my armor for me. In that case, you want that. But you're probably not going to want to fly a Hyperion in that fleet because it doesn't get the most bonuses. Every ship has its role. And it'll take you some time in EVE to figure it out. But if I were to fly something that was passive fit, I would fit a Megathron, which is another beautiful ship. Let's just look at this thing real quick. Might be my favorite ship in EVE right now. I don't know. It's gorgeous. Love it. Love it. But you can see, this is passive fit. It does not get any bonuses to an armor repper, so I don't have one on here. Instead, I fit it towards its strength, which is rate of fire and tracking speed of its guns. So I put as many guns as I could up there. And again, neutrons, they're all neutrons, they're just grouped in 2 different groups because it looks cool when you shoot it. So I put as many guns, as big as guns as I can up there because they get the hybrid turret rate of fire and tracking speed bonuses. So I could go on for hours and hours and hours talking about fitting ships. And I will go into another video about shield tanking, because shield tanking for PvP in particular is tricky because you're also fitting your tank and your electronic warfare, your propulsion, your scramblers, your webs, all that all into the same mid slot. So it's a little more difficult to fit a shield tank fit. We'll go into that in another video. But if there's any topic in EVE you'd like me to go over, please leave it in the comment section below, and I'll get a video out as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, guys. We have a new corp. Well, it's not really new, but we have opened it up to recruitment. New bros, bitter vets, whatever is very welcome. As you can see, I've got 74 million skill points. I've been playing since 09. I've run alliances, corps, you name it, I've done it. We're opening up recruitment. Come join us. Come join us on our Discord channel. I mean, right now we got 18 people in the corp. We've probably had 15 of those people in chat at the same time, running and gunning, teaching and learning. We've been having a lot of fun. So come join us in game. The corp's name is New World Order. I'm on this thing all the damn time. I'd love to have you play with us. Come drop in an application, join us on Discord, and let's have a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my sponsor at the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.